Maddie here. Thank you for coming back for another week, another book, or if this is your first time, thank you for clicking on my video. It means a lot to me. I really, really appreciate your willingness to even listen to me for just a little bit. For those of you that know me, and those that don't, I guess, my kind of standard template is cute, emotionally safe books. That's kind of my standard. But every once in a while, and I feel like more often than before, I'm liking to throw in different types of books, kind of just depending on how I'm feeling. But I like throwing in books that, like, even if they are very on par with what I would read, they aren't necessarily kind of my standard template. So can add a little bit of variety to this discourse. So this week, we're talking about a book that does not follow my template, but is very much on par with books that have read, and probably will read. Solutions and Other Problems by Allie Brosh. We have read, blogged, videoed, reviewed Hyperbole and a Half by Allie Brosh. It is her first book. It's so good. So both of these books, they're more comic book than like book. They're honestly essentially collections of short stories from both her childhood and adulthood. And Hyperbole and a Half is hysterical and fantastic. But part of why I recommend it to people so much is because it is something like a comic book. It makes it really easy and accessible for people that aren't really big readers. It's not as scary or as daunting as a novel. But on top of that, she talks about some very real world life issues of like depression and motivation and kind of self-doubt and negative self-talk and things like that. So I really like this book because it has a good mix of just like laughing so hard you're crying, but also being like, this is why being an adult and living in your own head is really, really hard. And so I like recommending it for both of those reasons, because it can give people who maybe don't have the same struggles as you, can maybe give them an idea of what it's like to have those struggles, but also just like the stories are hilarious and fantastic and you will talk about them forever. And I love that book because you can pass it along and then you'll be like, okay, but what's your favorite story? That's what I have to say about Hyperbole and a Half. I have a video on it. I'll link it below. But this week we're talking about Solutions and Other Problems. And before we go into that, let's read the synopsis. That is not a real synopsis. It kind of just exists. We would not be doing our due diligence if we did not read it. So, Solutions and Other Problems by Allie Brosh. Solutions and Other Problems includes humorous stories from Allie Brosh's childhood, the adventures of her very bad animals, merciless dissection of her own character flaws, incisive essays on grief, loneliness, and powerlessness, as well as reflections on the absurdity of modern life. This full-color, beautifully illustrated edition features all new material with more than 1,600 pieces of art. Like I said, it's a synopsis that doesn't tell you absolutely diddly squat about the book itself. Because the book itself has it is also not a real synopsis, but at least gives you a better idea of just the ridiculousness that is this book. This is what is written on the back of the book. This is a book. To answer any additional questions you may have, a brief Q&A with the author has been included. And it has a small comic that says, summary of information so far. Person, think, do, make, say, etc. Book is done. There are questions. Person responds, yes, good. That's like a little comic. That makes no sense. Question, hello, why did you do this? Answer, because I had some things I wanted to say. Ideas and stuff. But you can't just say your ideas, so I did stories with my ideas, secretly lurking inside them. Hopefully, it is not so sneaky of me to do this. I promise they're real stories, it's just that some of my ideas are also secretly present. And everyone who reads the book will need to deal with that. I'm trying to be more assertive. Question. You say you did this because you wanted to say things, but we noticed that you also drew 1,678 pictures, ... Answer. Yes, not good pictures, but there are 1,678 of them. Question. What are the pictures of? Answer. I don't like being this confrontational, but I'm not going to describe all the pictures. That's why they're pictures, so I don't have to describe them. Question. But how will people know what to expect if you don't describe the pictures? Answers. They just have to trust me. Question. They can trust you? Answer. Yeah. Question. Can you at least tell them a few things that are in the pictures? Like maybe put a list of objects or say what the average picture is of, or maybe what kind of picture the book would be if it was a picture. Lamp, dog, sun, walls, mom, dad, potato, universe, tragedy, and comedy equals time. Ants. Editor's note. No ants are depicted in this book. Sun, time, 2 balloons, mom, cat, bag, computer, face, mistake, the government. Editor's note. The government is also not directly depicted in the book. Man, sand, bird, ideas, stereo. Average picture is brown and squiggly with eyes. The book would be a picture of a book. Question. That was very helpful. Thank you. Answer, no problem. Glad I could help. Do you have any idea what this book is of? Yeah, no, me neither. That is like the most roundabout way of saying that this book is genuinely not worth reading for a couple of reasons. It's not that it's necessarily terribly written or boring or fill in the blank for whatever you believe is a waste of time for a book. It's not that it's those things. It is that this book is not hyperbole and a half if that's what you're expecting. It has the same outline of stories from childhood, stories from adulthood, personal struggles. It follows that same outline, but in a not as good way. Hyperbole and a half leaves you feeling kind of light and hopeful and understood. Solutions and other problems leaves you sad, depressed, and like there's nothing good in the world. The way she manages to do this is multifaceted. First, the kind of funny, lighthearted stories she tells in her first book, she tries to also tell funny, lighthearted stories in this book, but they come across as super troublesome and problematic. And you're like, even as kids, are y'all okay? Not like worrying about like their home life or their parents or anything like that, but just like their childhood psyche. Like, are you okay? Because the things you're doing, the way you're acting, like not okay. Not the average kid, funny, goofy, weird, out of left field things. They're weird and out of left field, but in a way that, like I said, I just kind of want to grab her and say, are you okay? So instead of laughing, we're nervous laughing, and it's not the same thing. Her adult stories are also super problematic. There's one that sticks in my head, and I'm like, why did you include this? I say, why did you include it? Because it is low-key disturbing, and it's like, again, are you okay? Are you okay? You've made it to adulthood with the same brain and same mindset, and it shows, and like not in a good, cute, quirky, funny way. It shows in the you need therapy and probably like a really long vacation, like away from society and like just on a beach doing nothing and kind of let your mind have a break for a little bit. Because like I literally would get to the end of these stories and I was like disturbed and sad and upset. And I was like, why did we include this story? This isn't the kind of story you go around telling people. We all have stories like that. Things you did that were dumb or stupid or just like not the best choices. And some of them have good life lessons. And some they're just like, we don't repeat the story because it's not a good story for so many reasons. And I feel like she picked all of those stories. I feel like she picked all the stories that were like, no, these are not the stories that you repeat. And the kind of overarching issue with this book is it is a way for her to deal with her grief in two facets of her life. One of them being her sister had passed away recently. So she's telling stories with that sister, and you can definitely tell that they are stories that have come from grief, and they're being told as this manifestation of her grief. And the second half is she had gone through a divorce. So it is also the grief of losing that person that she thought she was going to spend her life with. This person she had built a life with is now no longer in her life the way she was expecting him to be. So it's this two versions of grief of literally physically losing a person from this earth and like mentally, emotionally losing a person via divorce. And those are the powerful emotions that went into picking her stories. And it's not to discredit grief or even grieving in any ways, because everyone's going to do that differently. But the fact that she sat down and wrote a book, you just feel really depressed and upset and disturbed by the end of it. I couldn't read this in one sitting. I read about a third of it and put it away. And then I literally forced myself to finish it because I was like, I love Hyperbole and a Half so much. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt that even if it's not the same, which is fine because Hyperbole and a Half is fantastic, it's still the same author with like the same mind, same format. There's got to be some good in there. And there just really isn't. It's really, really sad. It's really sad. And she is grieving, like I said, in two different ways for two different things. And it shows. And this book is incredibly hard to read. And there are books that are hard to read because a person is going through hard things, but like you learn and you grow and you develop through them. And you're like, oh, like I experienced that with this person and now I feel like I understand things better. Like from her first book where she talks about like depression and motivation, like that's really depressing and it's really hard to read, but you learn and you grow and you develop through it. So like it's a growing experience in a good way. This is just feeling like you're stagnant. It feels like you're stuck in the grief and you can't move forward and you're not trying to move forward and you're like trying to settle in the grief. That's what it feels like. And so I don't recommend this book. I love her first book. I do not recommend her second book. And I mostly just want to talk about it because I think that's important to talk about these things. I think it's important to recognize these things because these are things I'm recognizing in an author. And I don't know her. I don't know her life. I don't know what she's going through. I don't know how she's doing now. I hope she's doing good. But kind of in the way I like recommending Hyperbole and a half. I like not being able to recommend solutions into the problems, if that makes sense. I like the juxtaposition of being able to talk about stuff, because this book is so steeped in grief and uncertainty and just battles, because that in and of itself opens up the doorway to talk about just struggling and trying to figure out really difficult situations in life. And so I don't recommend people read this book, because it is just going to leave you very, very sad at the end. Like, you get to the end of the book and it will put you in a depressive state. Like, straight up, as a person with depression, it will make you depressed. Straight up, it will. It's really sad. You can tell that she's grieving, but it's just an avenue to be like, just to kind of open your eyes a little bit to the world around you and be like, how are the people in my life doing? How am I doing with, maybe what I've experienced or what other people have experienced? So it kind of just like opens your eyes a little bit to that. And so instead of reading that book, don't read that book, but maybe watch this video and know that it's okay to grieve. It's okay to process, but there's a difference between settling into your grief and learning, growing through it. That's not quite what I want to say, but like, grief, it wants you to stay in one place, but to truly live life, you can't allow it to let you do that. I want to talk about this book, and I am talking about this book, not because I recommend it, but because it's a good example of just life being hard, and we all deal with life being hard differently. And so just kind of thinking about that, and like I said, examining yourself and examining those around you, and maybe hugging some people that you love and telling them that they're doing a good job and that you love and care for them no matter where they are or what they're doing or how they're doing. It doesn't matter, because you love and care for them and you're there for them. So that's kind of like the message I want to get across with this book with this video is, don't read it, but maybe love on those around you a little bit more, because you never know what somebody's going through. So with like that kind of crazy heavy note, next week we'll probably be back with a much cuter, lighter book. I have loads of really good videos of lighthearted, emotionally safe, cutesy, Maddie guaranteed books. This week just isn't one of them. Go check those out. Maybe get a little bit of a better idea of what is a little bit more standard for my channel, but I just really felt like I needed to talk about this. So with all of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope you have a great night, a great week, great weekend, great month, great year. I hope you have all the greats, because you're truly worthy and deserving of them. So until next time, 再见. Bye.